You know, to come here I don't wanna come here and beat you guys up, because you have done way better than anybody else as far as forest management. No question about that. You're way, the only part that upsets us is we're struggling, and we seem to be the one that gets hacked on this. And then what bothered me more than anything else is you buy it and the other company keeps on work, what, 4 years they have, or 5 years left to log, take the rest of the timber off from it. And we all know sitting here, they get any land that when they get done with it, it's just huckleberry brush. It's not, and maybe this is, I've never seen it, so I'm just looking from a visual part, from flying. So, you know, maybe there's trees that high that I can't see. But I'm saying that there's so, you know, if that had lots of timber on it, I wouldn't say anything, because we'd pick it up in local business and local, but, you know, I'm not. But you're the professionals and we're not, so.
Here in Benewah County, if you, these are rough ballpark figures, because of the 60,000 plus or minus acres you own, we've lost $864,000. You've paid back 597. We're still at a deficit of $267,000, and that's the thing that will probably never change because of the way your formula is based on student population. We will always be a donor county to the IDL, to the school endowment fund, unless something changes.
So, just so we all, the endowments, the last table on your handout is what we sold in Benewah County since statehood. So that 27,000, almost 27,500 acres have been on the tax rolls since we sold it. Probably anywhere between 1900 and 1940 is when that was sold. So over 27,000 acres were sold out of the endowments. That's timberland, farmland, predominantly here in Benewah County. That has been on the tax rolls generating income taxes. The other thing is, I would say, is Stimson. While Stimson would pay taxes and they would pay the $64,000, they would not make a distribution to the schools directly the way the endowments do. And I'm not saying it's a one-for-one offset. I'm not here trying to tell you that. But what I am saying is that given that we've sold 27,500 acres that have been on the tax rolls probably since 20s, 30s, generating income tax, and we make direct distributions, if you will, to the schools here, there is some benefit for the endowments. The other thing for the county, the other thing is we can't sell timberland. We've sold residential and we sold the commercial buildings. And it was for multiple reasons we sold the commercial buildings. One of them was the tax thing, but there was bigger issues than that. We have a long history of managing timberlands. We've been doing it. Our first timber sale was in 1905. And we've been active managers ever since. The ground that we buy will not sit idle. Any harvesting that Mulpus does during this timber reservation, we will be doing the regeneration of that ground, followed usually typically with planting. We will be planting it and it will be rolled right into our land base as productive timberland. It will continue to generate revenue in perpetuity because we can't sell timberland. That's why we're acquiring it, is we want to be long tenured stewards of that timberland.
How are you going to do that and leave the counties whole and not make a big tax shift to the individual homeowners and things like that? How are you going to do that?
Has there been any discussion about any kind of payment to the counties in lieu of taxes?
So for all lands constitutionally, all state lands, county lands are exempt from taxation other than fish and game. In the Constitution there's a provision in the Constitution for Fish and Game on certain lands that they buy to make a payment in lieu of tax payment. And then there's statute that is tied to the constitutional provision that clarifies which fish and game lands are subject to that tilt payment. Endowment lands are exempt from taxation, so that the one area that folks are able to explore, to change that would take a constitutional amendment, which is a pretty big deal. The other thing that folks can explore, and this is where some have been talking with the State Board of Education, is what that distribution formula looks like. Because that is not necessarily under the umbrella of the Constitution. And that formula is simply based on student population. Now, whether or not there could be something done with that distribution formula, I don't know, but that would be under the purview of the State Board of Education and not IDL, because we simply make that distribution at the end of the year and then they distribute it.
I guess my question was, did you guys consider all the downfall of taxes the counties when you were buying this property?
We did, and that's part of the reason when the reinvestment strategy was approved by the land board, we tried to get as much feedback and input from the counties as possible. And while they expressed some concern about the loss of taxation, many counties, I won't necessarily say that you all, but many counties, some of counties like Idaho and Clearwater, which are a lot of public lands as well, one of the county commissioners said it very clearly. He said, David, you know, if you guys buy land, timberland, that is out away from our areas of growth, we're okay, because when those areas get developed, chunked up, and somebody puts a home or a second home or a camp out there, they said the cost of services exceeds the increase in taxation.
I'm not disagreeing with that. I think it's a good deal for you guys to have it for public access. Like Jack said, you do a hell of a good job of enforcement. You always have. But I was just concerned if you guys had considered the downfall in taxes to the counties that you're buying property in.
We have considered it, but we don't have any mechanism to adjust that or address it at this point. We don't have a mechanism.
How much timberland do you own in Ada County?
Pardon?
How much timberland do you own in Ada County?
In Ada County?
Yes, that's where the capital is.
I would have to get the numbers. Probably very little in Ada County
Okay.
as far as timberland. The two areas, as you know, where we sold residential is Payette or in Valley County around McCall, and then Bonner County up around Priest Lake. Those were the two areas as far as residential.
So you look at Ada County, it's a large population county with no timberland. And so they get a lot of benefits from the state endowment fund because they have a lot of students going to school down there. And there's 400-some thousand people in Ada County versus 9,300 in Benewah County. And so they probably do very well with the state endowment fund. They probably collect a lot more from the endowment fund than they lose in property taxes. And that's where I feel the state land board is way off base by going around and buying all the land in these rural counties. That really hurts their tax base. And then they send you down here to try to justify it. It just does not add up.
I think, Phil, they are looking at it, the governor is looking at it, he is looking at it.
You know what's interesting, and I'll just share this story with you. When Potlatch sold the 170,000 acres down in the southern part there, we had looked at that 3 times. And we could not meet our fiduciary obligation to the endowments to meet the hurdle rate. And we said, no, we can't do it. And then it was sold. Potlatch sold it to Southern Pine, and then within about less than 6 months, they sold it to DF Development or whatever, the Wilkes Brothers. And as you may recall, then the ground started to be posted and locked up, gates, access. And we heard the department I was approached, I can tell you, by multiple county commissioners that said, why didn't you buy this land? And so we get questioned when we don't buy, when we have an opportunity to buy, because we couldn't buy it, it didn't meet our hurdle rate. So we're trying to find the balance, we're trying to spread where we buy timberland. I cannot tell you, I'm not here to try to tell you that we're offsetting your tax, the hit to your tax base. What I'm trying to do is just share information about what we're doing, why we're doing it, and hopefully there's enough benefits all the way around, but there may not be. And I don't have a mechanism.
You still have, what, $100 and some million to buy land with?
We have about 109 million in land bank yet,
Yeah,
right now.
so you've got the potential to even purchase more land in Benewah County then, don't you?
Yeah, I think if it's,
Which will further erode our tax base.
yeah, there is the potential.
Yeah.
I couldn't tell you acreage right now. I don't have that up.
Still gotta maintain our roads, we still gotta maintain all of our.
They woke us up though, Sal, so, they woke us up, so,
I'm just letting these guys know what we've gotta do.
yeah, what we're gonna deal with. But
And
we're
right now-
disappointed, but you can't change it, so it's up to us to see what we can do.
Right now, the school's looking at a $2 million override here in, for the
Tomorrow.
St. Mary's School District tomorrow. And they're gonna have to vote on that, plus realize the fact that, there's also gonna be more money put onto on there, because of the tax shift here, the land board is creating, there's gonna be a big tax shift here already, so it's gonna be a tough sell.
It'll be tough, so. Okay,
Well, I am always available. If you would like to talk more, I'd be happy to see what we can do over time here. I appreciate you hearing me out
You need to
today.
figure out some way to make the schools whole again in the county that you purchase land in. Because there's no way you'll ever, these schools will get more money back than the tax revenue they've lost in Benewah County by IDL purchasing land. It's just not gonna happen. And the more land you buy, the bigger disparity that becomes.
Hopefully you'll take our feelings back to your supervisors.
Pardon?
Hopefully you'll take our feelings back to your
Did you report
supervisors.
back to the land board?
Oh yeah, I'll be talking with the land board members.
Okay.
They're, I think they understand. I'm not sure, we're trying to figure out how we work through this at this point. Because there's constitutionally, and like I say, constitutionally and statutorily, we're exempt from paying taxes. So we can't make a tax payment, and we can't make a PILT payment, but I'm not sure what that would look like. That's
You should be
why,
able to make a distribution payment from the endowment fund, from the revenue generated from the endowment fund directly in relation to the tax revenue loss.
that would require, I believe, a constitutional change.
No.
That's why,
No. You said earlier that,
because the corpus of the permanent fund that's managed by EFIB and the lands, that's all the corpus of the trust, that's all under the umbrella of the
well, I guess my.
land board. What I'm talking about is the money
Structure view
distributed.
is figured out so Benewah County stays whole then.
I think what I was referring to later is the money, at the end of the year, the amount of endowment revenue that's generated both from the permanent fund and the land management is given to the superintendent of public instruction and the state board of education, and then they distribute it. Once that money leaves IDL and EFIB, Endowment Fund Investment Board, it's no longer a part of the corpus of the trust. I believe. So there might be an opportunity for the State Board of Education to adjust that funding formula of how much is distributed to the various school districts and have something that factors in the contribution from that county. That might be an avenue. But
There needs to be extra compensation put to the counties that are generating the funds to the endowment fund. The dollars to the endowment fund, that's what they need to do.
so the endowments, as you know, are considered, they're statewide rather than focus, right?
Yeah.
So the folks in Ada County, and I'm just using this as an example, would argue well, some argued against us having commercial buildings. We sold that, let's say it was $20 million in value.
Yeah.
We sold it, put it into the into the land bank, and then bought land elsewhere that's maintaining and creating jobs in those areas rather than Ada County. So there's all this counter argument that goes